A king who believed he would shatter like glass, another who crowned his horse a senator, and one who made his ministers play leapfrog for hours in his royal court. Hard to believe. It's true. Absolute power doesn't just corrupt. It warps the human mind in ways you'll barely believe. Tonight we step inside the lives of 11 kings, whose bizarre habits from ghostly midnight banquets to deadly feasts reshaped entire nations. Which of these rulers would you fear, and which might you pity? As the firelight flickers, settle in and ask yourself, would you be able to stay sane, mentally strong, and balanced if you held absolute power like a king? What choices would you make? Comment below. I'd love to know. Let's see what others would do if they were kings. These are the real stories of royal madness, excess, and survival, and they hold lessons for your own life too. Before we go deeper into this story, I want to say something to you, our cozy little history community. If you enjoy these journeys into the past, a like and subscribe would mean the world to us. It's what keeps this channel alive and helps bring you more relaxing bedtime stories filled with mystery, wonder, and warmth. Now, let's begin. Journey to the grand courts of medieval Europe and ancient Rome, where kings wore divine crowns but lived in mortal fear. Absolute power, meant to elevate, often became a prison, amplifying their deepest anxieties into bizarre behaviors that baffled their courts and reshaped their kingdoms. Paranoia, fear of betrayal, death, or even their own bodies drove these monarchs to extraordinary lengths, from refusing touch to demanding worship. What happens when a king's mind crumbles under a crown's weight? Their stories, drawn from court records and whispered testimonies, reveal not just madness, but the human struggle for control in a world of endless threats. Tonight we meet 4 kings: Charles VI of France, Henry VIII of England, James VI and Caligula of Rome, whose paranoia birthed habits so strange they echo through history. Breathe deeply, let the fire's warmth envelop you, and step into the fragile mind of Charles VI, where even a hug was a deadly risk. Picture a French court in 1392, where a young king, Charles VI, once hailed as the beloved, begins to unravel. Known to history as Charles the Mad, he developed a delusion so bizarre it defined his 30-year reign. He believed his body was made of glass, ready to shatter at the slightest touch. Imagine a king standing frozen, refusing embraces, terrified that a handshake could splinter him into 1,000 pieces. With a wry smile, we might say Charles invented the ultimate royal excuse for social distancing. Court tailors, in a surreal act of loyalty, sewed iron rods into his robes, crafting a heavy, planking armor to protect his fragile frame. His throne required padded cushions, his bed surrounded by soft blankets, all to guard against imagined cracks. Court records, like those of chronicler Jean Froissart, describe Charles refusing to ride horses or walk on stone floors, paralyzing state affairs as France faced the Hundred Years' War. Medieval minds saw his condition as divine punishment, but modern psychology suggests schizophrenia. With symptoms like hallucinations and identity loss, Charles once forgot he was king, claiming to be Saint George. His paranoia wasn't baseless. Court rivalries and assassination fears fueled his fragile mind. Yet his kingdom endured, a testament to resilience. Courtiers adapted, managing a nation despite their king's delusions, showing that loyalty can shine even in chaos. As you listen to the fire's soft crackle, reflect on how fear can trap us, but resilience can carry us through. Now, let's drift to Tudor England, where Henry VIII, the larger-than-life monarch, ruled with charisma and terror. By the 1540s, his once vigorous mind was clouded by paranoia, fearing poison in every meal and shadow. Servants were ordered to kiss his bed linens, pillows, and even his son's clothes to prove they were toxin-free, a ritual that might make us chuckle, imagining courtiers puckering up for pillows. But Henry's fear was real, rooted in plots like the 1536 Pilgrimage of Grace, and a jousting accident that left him with a festering leg wound. Court records note his obsession with food tasters, and his ulcerated leg, oozing and putrid, filled rooms with a stench that sent courtiers reeling. By his death in 1547, his 400-pound frame, ravaged by possible diabetes and chronic traumatic encephalopathy, CTE, required pulleys to move him. Most shocking, his coffin burst during transport, spilling his decomposing remains, a grotesque final act for a once mighty king. Henry's paranoia isolated him, yet it teaches us about trust. Even kings couldn't escape fear's grip, showing that vulnerability binds us all. His court's endurance reflects resilience, navigating a monarch's rage to keep England stable. As the fire's glow soothes you, consider how trust can heal where fear divides. Travel now to the Jacobean court, where James VI of Scotland and I of England, the scholar king behind the King James Bible, shocked Europe with a habit less divine. He refused to bathe. Fearing water weakened the body, James went months without washing, his hair a crawling nest of lice that, as courtiers like Anthony Weldon reported, fell onto state documents during meetings. Picture diplomats holding their breath as James's putrid, odor-rotting teeth and unwashed robes filled the room. We might jest that his courtiers needed nose plugs for royal audiences. His filth wasn't ignorance. James was educated, yet chose this as a royal privilege, believing hygiene invited disease, a common 16th century myth. His stench damaged England's reputation, with Spanish ambassadors lamenting the undignified negotiations. James's phobia likely stemmed from childhood trauma. His mother, Mary, Queen of Scots, was executed, leaving him paranoid and isolated. Modern psychology might diagnose generalized anxiety, but his court adapted, showing empathy by enduring his presence, his intellectual legacy unifying. Scotland and England proves quirks don't erase greatness. As the fire crackles, let James's story remind us to empathize with others' fears, finding strength in understanding. Let's journey to ancient Rome, where Emperor Caligula, ruling from 37 to 41 CE, turned the empire into a stage for his delusions. Gaius Julius Caesar Augustus Germanicus, nicknamed Caligula, believed himself a god and his horse. Incitatus a worthy consul. Imagine a marble stable with purple blankets and golden oats for a horse. While Romans starved, With a chuckle, we might say Caligula's cabinet was the wildest in history. Historian Suetonius recounts Caligula dressing as Jupiter or Venus, demanding worship, and planning to make Incitatus a senator. His public performances as a god terrified citizens who faced death for not bowing to his statues. Modern psychology suggests narcissistic personality disorder, fueled by unchecked power after a traumatic youth under Tiberius's reign. Caligula's delusions crippled Rome's dignity, yet his brief reign ended with his assassination, showing that even mad emperors face limits. His story teaches humility. Power unchecked harms others. As the fire's warmth embraces you, reflect on how humility grounds us even in our wildest dreams. As the fireplace glows, we leave these kings: Charles, frozen in glass; Henry, haunted by poison; James, cloaked in filth; and Caligula, lost in divine fantasies. Their paranoia, born of power's weight, warped their minds, yet their court's endurance teaches resilience. From France's loyalty to Rome's survival, we see humanity's strength in chaos. These stories, drawn from ancient records, remind us that fear is universal, but empathy can heal. What can we learn? Face fears with courage, trust others to bridge divides, and offer compassion to those trapped by their minds. As the fire's crackle soothes you, let these lessons settle in your heart. In our next segment, we'll explore kings drowned in indulgence, from stolen trinkets to fatal feasts. For now, breathe deeply, and let the fire's glow carry you closer to sleep. As the fire's gentle crackle fills the air, let's drift from the paranoid courts of old to opulent palaces where kings drowned their fears in reckless indulgence. Absolute power, unchecked by reason or restraint, turned their desires into obsessions that consumed not just their minds, but their kingdoms. From stolen trinkets to fatal feasts, these monarchs chased fleeting pleasures, leaving chaos in their wake. What happens when royal privilege fuels unchecked obsession? Tonight we meet four kings: Farouk I of Egypt, Ibrahim I of the Ottoman Empire, Christian VII of Denmark, and Adolf Frederick of Sweden, whose excessive habits, from pickpocketing to pastry binges, reveal the human struggle for control and meaning. Drawn from court records and whispered tales, their stories teach us about balance and compassion, reminding us that even kings are human, flawed, and vulnerable. Settle into the fire's warmth, breathe deeply, and let's step into the chaotic court of Farouk I, where a king's sticky fingers sparked scandal. Imagine Cairo's royal palace in the 1940s, where Farouk I, Egypt's last reigning king, turned monarchy into a circus of compulsion, ruling from 1936 to 1952. Farouk was a notorious kleptomaniac, snatching watches, pens, and jewelry from unsuspecting guests. Most audacious, he pilfered Winston Churchill's pocket watch during a state dinner, a theft so bold it became international gossip. As diplomatic records note, we might chuckle, imagining Farouk grinning like a mischievous child. But his compulsions weren't just quirky, they damaged Egypt's reputation. His obsession with red cars was equally bizarre. He owned over 200 crimson vehicles, from Ferraris to fire engines, and outlawed anyone else from owning one, a law that screams royal ego. Palace archives also reveal his massive collection of adult entertainment, cataloged by a dedicated staff, consuming hours he should have spent governing. Modern psychology suggests a personality disorder, perhaps narcissistic or borderline, fueled by Egypt's post-war turmoil and Farouk's need for control. His excesses eating endless feasts, hoarding cars led to his 1952 exile as his people starved. Yet his story teaches balance. Unchecked desires destroy what matters most. As the fire's glow soothes you, reflect on finding moderation in your own passions. Now, let's journey to 17th century Constantinople, where Ibrahim I, dubbed the Mad, ruled the Ottoman Empire from 1640 to 1648. In a haze of terror and obsession, trapped in the palace's golden cage from childhood, his isolation bred a distorted mind. His fixation on obese concubines was chilling. He sent agents to scour the empire for the heaviest women, cataloging them like livestock. As European ambassadors reported, his harem, unlike traditional Ottoman courts, was a prison of fear where hundreds lived under his violent whims. Most horrific, in a paranoid rage, he ordered 280 concubines drowned in the Bosphorus, sewn into weighted sacks, a mass murder that shocked even his hardened court. As one survivor's testimony revealed, Ibrahim's psychosis, likely triggered by trauma, turned love into violence. His palace, draped in costly furs for his sensitive skin, drained the treasury. His assassination ended the nightmare, teaching compassion. Trauma can twist even the powerful into monsters. As the fire crackles, let Ibrahim's story remind us to offer empathy to those shaped by pain. Picture Copenhagen in 1766, where Christian VII, a 17-year-old king, ascended Denmark's throne, bringing chaos with him. His mental instability, possibly schizophrenia, turned the court into a circus. Christian was obsessed with leapfrog, forcing diplomats and ministers to jump over each other for hours. As Danish records describe, imagine ambassadors, red-faced and puffing, leaping to appease a giggling king. Even odder, he promoted his pet dog to government minister, complete with a salary and council seat, claiming it advised him. His erratic behavior eating garbage, exposing himself at ceremonies, or slapping dignitaries without warning, created a court of constant fear. As British envoys noted, Christian's condition, worsened by a domineering upbringing, left him vulnerable to manipulation by his physician, Johann Struensee, who ruled through the king's madness. Yet his story teaches understanding. Mental illness demands support, not scorn. As the fire's warmth surrounds you, consider how compassion can heal fractured minds. Let's drift to Stockholm in 1771, where King Adolf Frederick met a fate as absurd as it was tragic. He ate himself to death during a Shrove Tuesday feast, a tradition of lavish pre-Lenten indulgence. Adolf consumed a staggering meal: lobster, caviar, sauerkraut, kippers, champagne, and topped it with 14 semla pastries, creamy almond-filled buns. Court records detail how these rich desserts, expanding in his stomach, caused a gastric rupture, killing him in agonizing hours. We might smile, picturing a king defeated by pastries, but his death was a grim spectacle, with physicians helpless against his gluttony. Modern medicine points to syncope or digestive overload, but Adolf's excess reflects a deeper disconnection from restraint, common in royal privilege. Sweden's reputation suffered, as foreign courts mocked the king who ate himself to death. His story teaches moderation. Even joy can harm without limits. As the fire's glow calms you, reflect on balancing indulgence with care. As the fireplace's soft crackle lulls you, we leave these kings Farouk's thieving hands, Ibrahim's tragic violence, Christian's chaotic games, and Adolf's fatal feast. Their obsessions, born of unchecked power and inner turmoil, brought ruin to themselves and their people. Yet their stories spark compassion. From Egypt's fall to Sweden's shame, we see the cost of excess, but also the human need for balance. These tales, etched in palace records, remind us that indulgence can trap us, but understanding can free us. What can we learn? Seek moderation, offer empathy to those lost in compulsion, and cherish the stability others provide. As the fire's warmth embraces you, let these lessons settle in your heart. Next, we'll explore kings lost in dreams, from elixirs to fairy tales. For now, breathe deeply and drift closer to sleep. Let's wander from courts of excess to realms where kings chased impossible dreams, their ambitions spiraling into delusions that reshape their worlds. Absolute power fueled visions of immortality, fame and fantasy, but without grounding, these dreams became prisons of the mind. What happens when a king's vision blurs into delusion? Tonight we meet three monarchs: Qin Shi Huang of China, Nero of Rome, and Ludwig II of Bavaria, whose quest for greatness led to bizarre habits, from swallowing poison to dining with ghosts. Drawn from ancient records and whispered tales, their stories reveal the human longing for purpose, tempered by the cost of losing touch with reality. These kings, trapped in their own minds, teach us to seek meaning with balance and acceptance. Settle into the fire's soothing glow, breathe deeply, and let's journey to ancient China, where an emperor's dream of eternal life turned deadly. Picture the vast empire of China in 221 BCE, unified by Qin Shi Huang, the first emperor, whose ambition knew no bounds except death itself. Obsessed with immortality, Qin sent alchemists across his realm to find an elixir of eternal life, as recorded in Sima Qian's records of the grand historian. His solution? Daily doses of mercury pills believed to purify the body, but instead poisoning him slowly. With a wry smile, we might say Qin chased forever with a potion that stank literally. His paranoia led to bizarre rituals, sleeping in different palaces nightly, traveling in identical carriages, and hiding his death in 210 BCE with rotting fish to mask the smell of his decomposing body. A grim cover-up detailed in historical texts. The terracotta army, thousands of clay soldiers, was built to guard him in the afterlife, costing countless lives. Modern psychology suggests obsessive-compulsive tendencies or anxiety disorder, driven by fear of mortality. Qin's dream of eternity bankrupted his empire and hastened his end, teaching acceptance. Embracing mortality gives life meaning. As the fire's warmth calms you, reflect on living fully in the present. Now, let's drift to Rome in 64 CE, where Emperor Nero turned the empire into his personal stage. Fancying himself a divine artist, Nero performed as an actor and musician, locking audiences in theaters to ensure applause, as historians Suetonius and Tacitus recount. Picture Romans trapped for hours, clapping for an emperor's off-key liar talk about a captive karaoke night. His obsession with performance extended to dressing as gods like Apollo, demanding worship, and staging lavish spectacles that drained Rome's treasury. Nero's belief in his artistic genius, likely narcissistic personality disorder, blinded him to his empire's needs, leading to revolts and his 68 CE suicide. Nero's passion for art, though misguided, reflects a universal desire for recognition. His downfall teaches purpose. Talents should uplift others, not trap them. As the fire crackles softly, consider how your gifts can serve the world. Journey now to 19th century Bavaria, where Ludwig II, the fairy tale king, lived in a dream world of medieval romance. Obsessed with Wagner's operas, Ludwig built Neuschwanstein Castle, a fantastical fortress with no practical purpose, as court records detail. He dined with imaginary guests, long dead kings and queens serving, lavish meals to empty chairs, a lonely stage for his delusions. With a wistful smile, we might imagine Ludwig toasting ghosts in his candlelit hall. His nocturnal lifestyle, sleeping by day and wandering in costume by night, confused opera with reality, suggesting delusional disorder. His extravagance bankrupted Bavaria, diverting funds from schools and roads, and his mysterious 1886 drowning remains unsolved. Ludwig's dreams, though beautiful, teach perspective. Fantasies must be grounded to avoid harm. As the fire's glow embraces you, reflect on balancing dreams with reality. As the fireplace's soft glow fades, we leave these kings' chins' poisoned quest, Nero's captive audiences, and Ludwig's fairy tale retreat. Their delusions, born of unchecked ambition, reshaped empires, yet their struggles reveal the human search for meaning. From China's clay armies to Bavaria's dream castle, we see the cost of losing reality's anchor, but also the resilience of those who endured their reigns. These stories, etched in ancient texts, remind us that purpose thrives in balance, and acceptance heals where dreams falter. What can we learn? Chase goals that uplift, ground visions in reality, and embrace life's fleeting beauty. As the fire's warmth lulls you, let these lessons settle in your heart. Our journey through royal madness ends here, but the past's wisdom lingers. Breathe deeply, and let these tales guide you into peaceful dreams.